What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Criminal Minds, Season 15, Episode 9, Face Off. Anytime an episode is titled that, I gotta reference the movie. But setting up for an ultimate showdown against Everett Lynch. I swear he's like a cockroach. You know, like you think he's dead, and then all of a sudden he keeps moving, and he's still alive. It's just, how is that even possible? A lot of this episode, very interesting to see more about him, find out a little bit more about why he is the way he is. You know, seeing that apparently his his home life was not great. Apparently, having a dad try to kill you as a baby can do a lot of messed up things to you, and a mom who's also crazy. So, some of the things that I'm not sure how I feel about. First of all, really random, but Luke at the beginning of this episode, apparently he and Lisa are split up now. Um, don't really get that. So either one, they just couldn't get the girl who plays Lisa to come back onto the show, so they're just like, you know what, let's just write her off the show. Or two, this is just something that popped into my mind while I was watching, like later on down the episode, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, if they want to make this intense and something that's really emotional, they might end up killing off like one of the cast, and Luke is now single. So I don't know why, but that just popped in my mind. So I hope that's not why they split him up, because I would hate if they did that. But it's just, again, something that popped into my mind. We'll see what happens with Luke. But that was something that was just sort of not really sure how to feel about it. Just really random that it happened. Also, I feel like a lot of what was going on with the mom, it seems a little, I don't know. I get that she's also very good at the con too, because like Everett Lynch, they're showing how intelligent he is. They're showing that he's always seeming to be one step ahead. He's always got an escape plan. He's always got something ready to go to make sure he can avoid getting caught. So they're showing how smart he is, but they're seeming to imply that the mom is on the same level, because she's very much feels like she's got a plan for everything. Feels like she's very easily able to manipulate the system. And I just feel like it's a little cheap sometimes to give your bad guys a way out because, oh, well, they're just that smart. I don't know. It feels, like I said, cheap. It just feels like a way to sort of stretch things out a little bit more, giving the mom such great ability to, I guess, work her way around situations by talking her way out of it almost. But we do get at least a little scene. I'm glad they did this as well, because I remember whenever we found out that Lynch killed Grace in the last time that we saw him. I just remember feeling like, really, we don't even get to see that though. Like, we don't get to see him turning on her. We don't get to see her reaction to him turning on her. It's just, oh, we just walked in the hotel room and there's her body with the face cut off. But we actually do get that scene in this episode, and I feel like they had to have planned for that, you know, more than likely, because most of the time you're shooting one season more than likely all at the same time. Probably, I mean, there might be a few episodes that are shot at different times just because you have to get to different locations. But I would like to think that they shot most of the Everett Lynch story. They knew what they wanted to do with it, and they shot it all at one go. Which would mean that they already had that scene ready to go. They were just saving it for us until now, which is, it's okay, you know. And I'm glad we did get to see what happened, because it just felt like something was missing whenever just, oh, Grace is dead now, we're moving on. um, so yeah, I'm also glad too that that's sort of what pushed Roberta to really go after Everett. You know, just because of the loss of her granddaughter and how much that hurt her. That's why she's working so hard to try to bring him down. But of course, we see in the end she can't bring herself to do it. I will also say the fact that they came down so hard on the end. I don't know if that's going to lead to anything. Something else that just popped into my mind as well, because there's all this talk about Prentice possibly being the director of the FBI, and the possibility of JJ moving on. Now Garcia's apparently moving somewhere. It does make me wonder if Spencer's going to stick around in the FBI, because he's the one that made the order. And clearly, you know, for whatever reason, they decided, oh, well, whoever gave that order, they're responsible for this. I don't really know how I feel about that, because it's not like they made a huge mistake. It's just They were outsmarted. And yes, some people died, and that sucks, but it wasn't their fault. It wasn't like anybody on the team was at fault for it. So I don't know. I just feel weird that the guy comes in and he's just like, I can't believe this happened. Oh, and you're not even gonna be in the running anymore. How dare you? What? Like nobody's ever made a mistake before? I don't know. Just seemed very silly to me. But whatever the case, I am excited to see just because of how much they've built up this story with Everett and really the back and forth between him and Rossi as well. Very intriguing stuff, and I love seeing the scenes of them together talking in the woods. Very much like they said, a surrogate father for him, and it really does get me excited to see Rossi have that moment to take him down because I'm sure that's what it's going to be leading to. I know obviously the team is all going to be working together, but I feel like Rossi has got to be the one to take him down and to bring him in because I mean it would just be so satisfying to see. Now, will they bring him in or will he just die? That's kind of the question that I'm curious to see answered. But yeah, all in all, I'm excited for the finale. So let's get to it. The final episode of Criminal Minds. It'll be interesting to be without it. I've had it in my life for so long. It's gonna be sad to see it go. But let's get to it. I'll see you there. And finally, episode 10, and in the end. If you played Danganronpa and you happen to be watching the Game Grumps playthrough of Danganronpa 1 and 2, then you get that joke. If you haven't done either of those things, then you're just thinking I'm sitting here looking like an idiot, which is perfectly fine, because sometimes I am. But no, series finale for Criminal Minds. We're here. And it did evoke some emotion at the end. And I think a lot of that comes down to Garcia. Yeah, they really did make her the focal point with her leaving the team, going off and doing something that really suits her more because I think this lifestyle is just not. I mean, honestly, she was the odd one out. She couldn't look at all of this death and despair and despair. Get it, Danganronpa again. But she couldn't look at all the murders and stuff and just not be affected by it. So it really felt like she was the one out of the team that just didn't. She felt like she didn't fit, but the technological side of her, the ability she had on the computer, it really benefited. And obviously, she was the one that kept the team together with her heartfelt, just basically everything she did. So to end it with her leaving the team, and she's the last one there. She's the one turning off the lights, and of course we see her reaction as well because she really had. I mean, throughout most of the series, I remember her reactions the most whenever she found whenever something big happened, and she was the one to find that information out, or she got told. I mean, she was always the one with the very big reactions, big emotions, and really it could get to you as an audience member. So yeah, I do appreciate that fact that they ended it with her. But all in all, it was fine for finale. I would have liked to see a little bit more done with it. Honestly, if they could have expanded a little bit, where they had 3 endings. The first of the 3 is what the last episode was. The second is dealing with Spencer, basically dealing with this brain bleeding and everything he went through and kind of going back through his life. And then the final episode is when they realize, crap, Everett Lynch is still out there. And then he goes and takes Crystal. I feel like that would have been kind of a good final 3 episodes. And I feel like it would have given him a lot more time, not only to build up the suspense of, holy crap, Everett Lynch is still alive, but also to give us more time with each of the team members as well, and build their stories a bit more. Because honestly, I already talked about with Lisa not being there for Luke anymore. Now all of a sudden we get to this last episode and Maxine doesn't even get mentioned for Spencer. So it is kind of like, okay, do we just ignore all of that now? Like, you clearly gave him somebody that made him happy, and you had that really great episode where he's dealing with Kat Adams again, and she's trying to separate them, and then Maxine ends up turning the tables on Kat. All of this really good stuff that all of a sudden just doesn't matter because at the end of it, she's not even involved. I expected him to mention her at least, even if they couldn't get the actress back, at least mention her whenever he's going through, like all these people, he's even talking to Maeve again, and he doesn't even mention the fact, like, I did find somebody now that, you know, it's making me happy, or she mentions it to him, like, I'm glad you found somebody that made you happy after me. Something along those lines, but it just doesn't even come up. He passes out in his apartment with brain bleed, and you would think, they're together now, or at least they should be, because they never mentioned them breaking up. So at what point does she not call or text and be like, hey, why aren't you answering? She doesn't go over there to check on. Nope, there's no mention of him. It's only after they realize Everett Lynch is still alive that they're like, we need to go get Reed, and then they go over there and like, oh my gosh, Reed. So yeah, there's definitely some issues that I have with some of the storylines that I feel like didn't really go anywhere. A little disappointed they couldn't get some of the cast that they didn't kill off their characters, like Hotch and Morgan. I know with Hotch it's obviously more the actor because there was that whatever fight that he got into with one of the directors. But for Morgan, though, I don't think Shamar Moore left on a bad note. I think he just left to go do his own thing, so I'm sad they couldn't at least bring him back for this final episode, just even to say goodbye to Garcia or be there for when she's leaving. I don't know, just something. So I was a little disappointed in that, but I mean, all in all, it was fine. The story with Everett Lynch, him coming back, him going after Crystal, it makes sense, and I feel like for Rossi, maybe a little naive to just assume, oh yeah, if we just send security over there, it'll be fine. I feel like he should have realized sooner, no, he's going to come after her hard, because that's what he's going to want to basically have. And just sending a couple security guys over, honestly, he only sent one over. I'm just like, okay, Rossi, he's better than that. He's good enough to get past one security detail. So I will say that was a little naive, but it makes sense from Lynch's point of view, and I'm glad that the team decides to go after him. Rossi, his whole plan to essentially go to the private jet, and because he knows how good the jet is made and all the little secrets in it, yeah, it makes sense that he would want to make sure they took their private jet, because, like they said, I mean, he and Gideon, like, they bought that jet. They've had that jet for 20 years. So I liked how they handled that. I would have liked it a bit more if he didn't, like, get the gun and then get shot before falling out of the plane. I feel like that was a little, okay, so you had this plan, and basically your only plan was to sneak a gun and then get shot a few times and hit him once. But then, of course, JJ, blows him up, which I'm like, okay, so JJ at least got the final kill, which, I mean, I guess that was okay, because technically his daughter shot her. But, yeah, I would have, I guess, liked a little bit more clever of a plan outside of just grabbing a gun and hoping to shoot him before he gets shot, which that didn't even work out. And I think that could have happened if, again, they'd given themselves a bit more time. And honestly, with that idea of a bit more time, I will say the ending maybe dragged on a little too long as well, because it felt like, I get it, they have the party scene. I wouldn't even be surprised if some of the people in that party scene are like crew members that are just like, look, just go out there, have some fun. This is the last episode, let's celebrate. And that's literally what they did. They just had the cast and the crew all there, and they're just celebrating, and the crew is pretending to be a part of the party. Because I could see that happening, and it would make a lot of sense, and it would be a good send-off for the show. So I didn't mind that, but then after that, then we have another scene where we see, Alves is now asking out Garcia on a date, which I felt like was just sort of fan service. Because, I mean, I don't really see Alves and Garcia as a couple. They're very much in the same line of Morgan and Garcia. Like, they have their little banter and stuff, but they're not really a couple. But now all of a sudden here they are, and he's like, "Oh, now I can take you to dinner." I'm like, "Okay, this is clearly just fan service, right? This is just the fans getting what they want. Garcia and Alves get to hook up because there was all that flirty banter and stuff." And then they have a bunch of people saying nice things about Garcia. Then they have Garcia giving a speech. I'm like, okay. And then they cut to another scene where now Garcia's at the BAU and she's having people load stuff up. And they're like, what? I thought you were leaving at the end of the week. And then they have a case come in and everybody's hugging each other and they're saying goodbye again. I don't know. It felt like they weren't really sure where to end it. And don't get me wrong, I like the scene in the office where Garcia puts the little note in there. It's probably a callback to something I don't remember at the moment. But she turns off all the computers and stuff and you see the tears streaming down her face, turns off the lights, closes the door. I'm like, that's a good way to end it. But I feel like the past 5 minutes to 10 minutes, something along those lines, were just so much filler. And yes, it's the last episode, so you want to talk, but you had 2 episodes to finish out Everett Lynch's story, and it feels like you spent a lot of that second episode more just saying goodbye rather than actually wrapping up the story and, I don't know, building on some of these storylines that you had after the last episode. So I don't know. It's a weird feeling because I like this final episode, but I feel like there's a lot of missed potential as well. So I'm kind of up in the air on what my overall verdict of it is. I guess, I mean, good would be the verdict. It was enjoyable. It was fun at times. It was exciting at times. It was thrilling at times. But there were some moments where it did drag a little bit. I did feel like I wanted to see something more, again, with Rossi. It kind of reminds me, honestly, of the episode with Cat Adams, where I'm sitting there thinking, okay, there's got to be a plan, right? Like, there's got to be some plan we don't see going on behind the scenes that's going to foil her whole plan in this episode, and there was, and it was cool to see how it all came together. I was really expecting something similar in the same vein of Rossi has some idea where essentially Everett thinks he's gotten away with it, but then all of a sudden Rossi comes in just like, nope, fooled ya. I was expecting something along those lines, and we didn't get really anything like that. It was more so just, oh yeah, hop into our private jet. Oh, secret gun. Oh god, you got me, and then blows up the plane. Just like, well, that wasn't that clever. So all in all, though, my thoughts on the show as a whole. Obviously, this show has been a part of my life for a while. I mean, I'm over half my life, almost half my life now. God, 2 years from 30. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a show that I've enjoyed for a long time. I'm glad I started doing reviews of it because it's a show I do enjoy talking about. It's one of those guilty pleasure shows that, yeah, it's not one of the greatest made, and it's not always, this great running storyline where you have all these fantastic story elements and plot twists and things that change from episode to episode. But the team has always been very enjoyable. Yes, there were a couple duds here and there. Elle, I wasn't a big fan of, and Steve Walker, when he was in, wasn't a big fan of him either. So, yeah, there were some issues here and there, and some, there are probably a lot of repeating stories that I just don't remember, where you have very similar unsubs and very similar killers. But all in all, I mean, it was a fun show to sort of see them dig into the criminal mind, the what would cause somebody to break and start doing this awful stuff, humanizing some of these people because, yeah, sometimes it just comes down to they had a rough life or something broke them, something really messed them up. And it's not just they're evil and that's just who they always are. No, sometimes it was something that made them this way. And I feel like this show did a really good job of tackling that in a way where we get to see a lot of the darker side of the world, but we see it through the eyes of this team that they do their best to make sure they stop that, and they make sure to help people, and they make sure to save people's lives. So it was always kind of one of those shows that was just going to be here and then it was gone, and people enjoy it, people have fun with it. It's not going to be one of the best shows ever, but it makes sense why it's a long running show, because it is something you can just keep making more stories for a while. And I feel like they did a good job. Yes, I had some issues with this final season. Obviously, there were some writing issues that I talked about. But for the most part, I think it was a good final season. I thought building up Everett Lynch as this kind of overarching villain that started the season and ended the season was good. And they had some really interesting stories sprinkled in throughout. Yes, not all of them were super meaningful or super like tying back into something that happened before, but there were a lot of good episodes for each of the individual team members, episodes that built their characters, episode that gave them more backstory. Between the two, because obviously I just watched 14 and 15 back to back, I feel like 14 was a little bit better just because we did get a lot more of the team growing and seeing more about them. But with that being said, I still think 15 was very strong for the most part. I don't know how to rank the seasons because I don't remember them as well as some of the other shows, but I would say 15 was probably about average for Criminal Minds, just very, very good, very solid storytelling and enjoyable, fun. So that's it. That's the last Criminal Minds review. It's been a long time. It's been a long time watching this show, and now I'm going to go to a show that, I mean, it started watching when I was older, so obviously it's not been around for as long as Criminal Minds has been in my life, but I mean, it's been around for longer than Criminal Minds because they are on season 19 right now, going into season 20. Oh boy. So, but yeah, NCIS is up next. But with all of that being said, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the final 2 episodes of Criminal Minds? What were your thoughts on the show as a whole and for season 15 as a whole? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future reviews. Go check out some other ones if you want to. And I'll see you guys at NCIS next. Peace out.